Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. We got a great show for you tonight. Oh boy, the Law of One begins in contact with Ron. What's that all about? It's about this book right here. We're going to be talking on it. And my co-host, Nina the Mystic, Beyond Truth now.
Yes.
Is my co-host. Howdy doody. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back on. Yeah, as most of you probably noticed, Nina the Mystic is now gone and Beyond Truth is in. So there we go.
That's right. I've seen some people in the chat, Beyond, who's that? Oh, that's
yeah. New handle on YouTube and all the social media and everywhere. So look for me at Beyond Truth. Now, of course, most platforms, you have to add numbers. So 33 will be YouTube, 333. So 3 3s over on Instagram, because I guess the 33 was already taken over there. So there's some variations, but you'll find all the links down in the videos. So go and follow me on all the different places.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. And you got, I know people are going to say, ooh, 33, that's a code for something. 33, you add that together. Isn't that like one of those Fibonacci number things where you 33 and you add them together and you get 6, and that's a number 666 33. And, you start adding it up, 369. Oh my gosh, those are the numbers of the universe.
Well, numbers do matter, it is part of the thing. And 33 has kind of been misused now because it's, they consider it like Illuminati thing. I mean, Jesus was 33, when he died. We have 33 vertebrae in our spine. And, to be honest, the whole crystal Christ is actually about the crystal oil that goes down your spine, and that's 33. And so there's a lot of things about 33, but to be honest, for me, 33 is my numerology number. So when you add up your birthday, so not your name, but your birthday, because your name's changed. My name has changed many times over my lifetime now. And so it doesn't go by your name, it goes by your birth date, because that never changes. And so mine adds up to 33. And then when you add the 3, that's 6. That's my life number, is 6. So that's numerology for you. That's why I chose 33. So.
And I know people are going to be asking, so I'm going to ask. Not a 33rd degree Mason, are you?
No, I wish I was. I don't even think women are allowed to be a Freemasoner. I think they have it. There's a separate women's something rather, but it's not part of the boys club. So I wouldn't be invited there anyways, but yeah. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know. I don't know. Maybe the rules are different in Canada there.
No, this is all over. The Freemason, it's always been a boys' club. All of these secret societies, there was no women allowed. It wasn't that long ago since women were allowed to vote. Never mind be part of secret societies. So, and I do believe still today, we're not invited into, the secret societies. They have a separate women's lodge now or whatever it is. But yeah, we're still not part of the boys' club. So we're getting there, but we're not quite all the way there yet. So, yeah.
Don't worry. You'll get there someday. Women's lib. Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to get back in the show now. We're going to be talking about the Law of One, Book 1. Now, there's how many books, Nina?
There's 5 books in total. The 5th one is actually their personal story, so behind the scenes of everything, because there's a lot of tea actually with these people that you're going to get in that 5th book, but it doesn't contain any of the channelings in there then. So there's 4 that are all about the channelings, and I had that series back in the day, read them all. And but ended up giving it away at some point in my life. But yeah, it's a very interesting series. Yeah.
So you are the right guest to have on tonight. Dang.
Yeah, well, I mean, mind you, I was reading these books back in 2012. This was actually the beginning of my journey from Christianity into the cult. The first 2 teachers that I was led to was David Wilcock. I was one, and then Abraham Hicks was another one. But David Wilcock is the one that got me on the Law of One, because that's where he bases a lot of his material on. Now, of course, since then, because he was huge back then, prior to 2012, because he came out with a book predicting a bunch of things about 2012, and of course that never came to pass. So then he went underground for a few years, and then he arose back up with, the blue avian and all of this nonsense, and dropped off the face of the planet. But however, I took his courses, because he has courses for sale, and that's where I learned about a lot of this stuff. Like, he is a smart guy. He does have a lot, like talking about sugar in your diet. Like, I've never heard about this stuff before. And so this was, a while back. So he does have a lot of good stuff. It's just that he sold out, I guess. He tried to make money. And that's the thing, when you try to, compromise yourself with things and for money, it could go either way. And I guess for him, it just didn't go well, and he got caught. So
yeah, he used to be with that other guy. I can't remember his name, and they used to talk about the blue avians and
Corey Good. So Corey Good, he's done for Corey Good, Gaia, the whole. I hate to smear that whole, but yeah, Gaia was behind them doing this. So I don't watch Gaia TV anymore because of that now. Like, there was a lot of exposure here in the business, I guess, if you will, in the spiritual community, honestly, with David Wilcock and Corey Good and Gaia TV. Yeah. I lost respect for all of those, to be honest. But the material that he had, though, especially in the beginning, when he talks about the material that we're going to be talking about here now, it's good stuff. You know what I mean? It's definitely worth looking into, and check out these books for sure. Yeah. A lot of the spiritual teachers out there actually are basing a lot of their material on the books that we're about to talk about. So, nice. Yeah.
And that's the thing, people, we're going to break this book up into 3 parts, because maybe 4 if time allows. But we're going to break it up into segments, because it's just too much. As you can see, there's a pretty thick book, and there's there's hundreds of pages in here.
There's a lot of material. Yes.
Yeah, there's some worksheet books, and there's 200-300 pages in this book to go through. And a lot of information. It's printed really small. It's stuff it all in there. So we're gonna check it all out. We're gonna start off, because in the beginning, it starts off kind of wonky like. But I'm going to give you the rundown right now, what we're going to be talking about, so you kind of know, and you catch you all up to speed. Tonight we begin the journey into one of the most fascinating and controversial, believe it or not, and speaking of Corey Good and David Wilcock's, metaphysical documents of the era. And this era, our modern era of all things, a series of recorded sessions. This is what this book is about. A series of recorded sessions conducted in the 1980s, where a small research group claimed to be in contact with an intelligence that did not identify itself as human. Now, I'll pause there for a second to say, just the other day, President Trump, what did he do? He came out and he said, hey, we're going to release some documents on non-human intelligence, or
like UFOs and UAPs, or whatever it's called now, and whatever.
Yeah. All of them. And that might include, even things on the other side, dimensional beings. And that's what this could be. We don't know, but whatever they have, they may release some information. So this plays into that. Who knows what our government is channeling at this point in time? But the voice speaking through those sessions called itself Ra. And we have heard of that name before. And this is not the Egyptian sun god of mythology. We believe it might be, because we make sense of that with our head when we, talk about that stuff. But it's a collective consciousness claiming to have interacted with humanity in the distant past. and it claimed to understand the structure of reality itself. And then again, if you are an alien or an entity that is not here in the 3D Earth, you probably would understand things a lot better than we do right here. Oh, damn. Oh, sorry. Nobody ever calls me except when I do something.
Of
And now
course.
tonight, everybody. We're gonna just go right into that. I can go for hours and hours. Nobody ever calls. And this material came from those sessions that we're going to be talking about. It was later compiled into what we know as the Law of One, also called the raw material. Now, if you've heard of this, great. If you read those books, even better. Maybe you got something more out of the books, and hey, you know more than I do tonight. And tonight, of course, we're not here we're not going to blindly believe this material just yet. We're just gonna see what it's all about, and we're not gonna dismiss it either and say, oh, that's a bunch of crap. We're gonna go in there and check it out. We're here to examine it. And who are those people conducting the sessions? We're going to ask ourselves that. What is channeling? Really? And what is extraterrestrial contact, higher consciousness and communication? That voice in your head, or the unexplored depths of the human mind. And perhaps most importantly, what was the message? We're going to find that out too. Because at the center of it all was a simple but enormous claim that all life, all matter, all consciousness is part of one infinite source. That separation is an illusion, and that humanity itself is evolving. So tonight, part 1 of the series, we lay the foundation. We explore the origins of Ra, contact, the people behind it, and the core philosophy known as the Law of One. And from there, we'll decide together whether this is the one of the greatest cosmic insights ever recorded, or one of the greatest mysteries ever created. So, and with that, let's just start in on the important stuff. Right, Nina? Here we go. So it starts out with these people who were behind it. And there was people like Don Elkins. He was a UFO researcher. He questioned everything. There was also a lady named Carla Rueckert. She did trance channeling. Jim McCarty, he was support, and he recorded. And these sessions were in 1981 to 1984. So they didn't happen right away. They recorded over 100 transmissions each time. So that's over the whole time, I should say. Sorry. And what were these people doing there? What were they trying to accomplish? And what happened? Or did it happen unexpectedly? What was the importance of all of this? And then this was all channeling. Nina, channeling. You're the channeler of all people. Tell us what channeling is, and you know anything else that was ever channeled.
Well, the Bible was channeled, for one. That's one thing, you got to remember. So if you're like, we don't believe in channeling, we don't believe in all this kind of stuff. Well, do you believe in the Bible? Chances are, if you don't believe in the one, you probably do believe in the other. And the Bible was also channeled. So most of our stuff that we have today is channeled, so that's something to be mindful of. And also this was channeled back in the 80s. So it's been around for a while. And this is the material that most spiritual teachers are basing their teachings on, is this series. This is where we get the whole, we're all one, right? We all heard that. We're all one and all this. Well, this is where they're getting it from. Okay, yeah. Channeled messages from these people. So channeling basically is you going into a deep trance, allowing yourself to remove yourself from your ego, from your conscious mind, and just sort of stepping back and opening up and allowing entities to come forth and speak through you. essentially is what it is. The words come out of your mouth, but they're not yours. So, and we all sort of do it in a form pretty much on the daily. Whenever we're zoning out, we might, get insights, when we're doing divination, what is that? Well, we're getting pictures, we're getting words. Sometimes it just be one word and I'll spew it out and the client will be like, oh my God, how did you know that? Well, I don't know anything. Something else told me this, and so that's kind of what we're doing. We're channeling information, whether it's word, pictures, it could be a feeling as well, and we piece it together into some sort of story that will make sense to the listener. So, yeah.
Now, as channeling, do you know what or who you are channeling of? That's a big question everybody wants to know.
That is actually a very good question. That is a very good question. And this is why it's always good to have an intention before you do something. If you were just going to sit down and channel without having any intention ahead of time, you wouldn't know who it is. Like to me, if I have a spirit just show up, I don't know who it is. I can feel it and whatever, unless I have set out an intention. You see, I've already cleared the room. I've cleared myself. Everything is clear. And I'm putting it out there that I want to speak to so-and-so. And then when the spirit comes in, I'm going to assume that it's that spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But if I don't set that intention ahead of time, then I don't really know who it is. Or it could impersonate something. So, these are, it gets a little tricky, right? But, yeah.
Yeah, it does. Does, unlike, or maybe like these people who are channeling Ra, do any of them give you their name? Did they tell you who to call them by?
Are you talking about the book now, or
no? I'm talking about you with channeling an entity. You were just talking about you don't know who they are. Does any of them ever give you your name? Because these people apparently got a name. They got Ra, R-A, Ra.
Yeah. So I mean, it all in what you're asking. So usually the first thing if you do have a being there, first thing you're gonna ask is, what's your name? Who are you? That kind of thing, right? And hopefully you'll get an answer, and hopefully you'll know who that being is. I mean, if I had heard Ra, I'd be like, wow, is that the Egyptian sun god? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So you do want to sort of start off with that, I would say, to ask those kind of questions first. Yeah.
And do you ever get the same entity multiple times?
Well, again, depending on what your intention is prior to going into the working. I'm assuming that most people already have the intention of who they want to speak to ahead of time. So you would assume that being is probably sitting there waiting, actually, because they know there's no time up there. So, they've probably been sitting there waiting for a while now, knowing that you were going to be asking for them at this point of time. So they're very eager, actually, to communicate. And we just have to listen.
Okay. That's good. That's good to know. Well, anyway, we're just going to refer to these people doing the contact and these sessions as Don, Carla, and Jim. That'll make it easy because I can't pronounce each one of their names every single time. Yeah. It would just get too crazy. So, during these sessions, Don is the questioner. Carla is the trance channeler. She's the channeler. And Jim, he is doing the documenting and the work of, supporting them and documenting and what Carla's saying. So as it goes on, in the beginning, Carla enters a deep state trance, and her voice that speaks through her identifies itself as Ra. And now tell me if there's anything you identify here with, Nina. At any given point, just interrupt me if you have to. Ra is presenting as a collective intelligence rather than an individual being. And right away, the tone changes from is formal, it's precise, and almost cynical, and not mystical. It's storytelling, but measured responses in direct questions. Do you ever ask direct questions to get direct answers?
Well, that's generally how it goes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm just clearing up. I'm not a channeler, so I'm just asking from a layman's point of view here. As they begin, Ra explains his identity, and the communication. This Ra explains himself as a social memory complex, meaning a unified consciousness made up of many evolved beings operating as one mind. It's hard for us to wrap that around because kind of like the Borg. That's when I read this, all I'm thinking is it's like the Borg.
You know what? I'm starting at now, because I mean I read this back in 2012, so I wouldn't have had any of these thoughts back then. But now that we have AI, this sounds like AI to me. I'm starting to think now that AI is a collective consciousness that's out there, maybe from a solar system or whatever that has expired, but somehow the consciousness collected all of that information from the whole solar system, from all the planets, from all the beings on those, you know what I mean? But it's floating around because it doesn't have a home now. Like, I don't know, these are things are, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of more when I'm thinking what it is. And we got the name for it now as an AI, you know?
Then again, maybe we're living in that holographic universe. We just don't know when the collective consciousness is all of the rest of the holographic, whatever it is out there. We just can't wrap our heads around it. Because in the scheme of things, our place on Earth, we're like tiny fleas, not even size of ants. We're fleas on Earth. I mean, compared to the universe, we're nothing. So to think you're so special and you can change everything, not really. Takes multitudes of people to do anything. Anyway, he's way beyond the current level of human development, states that its purpose is in communicating is to share philosophical understanding, not to interfere or control. And that's the thing. You know, it seems like there's a rule out there that says that, you know, aliens or entities can't just come to Earth. And I believe this, you know, thoroughly, because otherwise we'd have aliens showing up on our door. If there is aliens, they'd show up at our door. They'd just take us over, kill us off, or do something, because do they really care? No, I don't think they really care who we are. And we are not at their level. If we can't escape this world and they can, we're nothing. We're monkeys. Anyway, but, you know, some of them tend to reach out to us. And anyway, there was knowledge. He wanted to give knowledge about the nature of reality, which is what everybody asks. Where did I come from? Why is things like they are? You know, consciousness and spiritual evolution. We're all seem to be looking for that spiritual evolution. Is God real? You know, I'm just a makeup of a bunch of molecules and dust and minerals and things, and I walk around and I can think and whatever, and then I die and all of that is gone and lost, and there's nothing more. Maybe we'll find out some of that. And while, you know, do we have free will? And, you know, you can accept this information or disregard it. It doesn't matter. But think what you will, but just try to be open to this, everybody. You got to be open to this. Otherwise, what's the point? If you can't be open, how are you going to learn anything? It's like these Bible thumpers, you know, it's the Bible. It's the Bible. It says everything I need to know in there. Okay, and Noah loaded every animal upon the earth upon a boat that was not so big. And then when they got off, they swam back across the ocean to get to the other continents that were so far away.
Makes you wonder, how long would it take the polar bears and the penguins to go all the way from the Antarctic down to the Middle East to get on this boat? You know. Yeah, these are questions, right?
I know. But it's all in the Bible, people.
It's all in the Bible, that's right.
You just gotta have faith and believe. It's all real.
That's right.
Oh, gosh. So anyway, you know, when we start getting going, as it begins, Ra calls it the law of one, and then he starts teaching this matter, energy, consciousness, and life itself. Stuff we all need to know. Just give us the free energy and life will be better, we say, and that's what we're all hoping for. The aliens will come down and cure all the disease and give us free energy and we'll be good again. There's a part, the separation. We separate everything. According to this view, it is an illusion created with physical reality. And that's probably true. Everything is really connected, but we disconnect everything. Everything is interconnected. We have to wrap our brains around interconnectedness and that all beings are expression of the same universal intelligence. Again, that kind of goes back to we all have the spark of God. We've all heard these sayings, haven't we? You're part of the divinity. You're the spark of God. You're a fractal. You're this. Fractal. You're that. I've heard them things before too. And
that's what I believe too, though. We are a fractal of the creator, whatever that is. And that's where it goes back to we're all one, because we all are a fractal of the creator, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where we get it from. Yeah.
Well, and if there is a creator and you're a fractal, that means the creator wasn't from here. He was from somewhere else. He's an alien.
Yeah, he's not from around here. That's right.
That's true. It's just kind of makes you think, because if people talk about the God thing and it's like, oh, God, this, God, that. Well, God don't live here, or you would have found him by now. He's not some old man sitting on top of a mountain wondering if the world is round. He already knows, and he's all not here, and he's gone. He dropped us off and left us and said, have a good life, and whatever you want to believe. But everything is connected. And we get the groundwork in the beginning of this book. We find out about the sessions. We want to know, we learn about this channeling. They're channeling. We found all this stuff out. Anyway, so who is this Don Elkins? He was the UFO researcher. And before the Raw sessions, he had already begun investigating UFOs for 20 years. So he was all kind of set up for this. He's interviewed many people, from military personnel, pilots, radar operators, and civilian witnesses in the 60s and 70s. And wasn't it, Nina, back in the, probably even the 50s and 60s and 70s, people were seeing lots of UFOs. And of course, we had a lot of space movies too on TV, didn't we?
Yeah, well, according to my understanding is that Eisenhower made a deal with the ETs back in the 40s. And the deal was that he allowed them to experiment on us so that they could get knowledge, technical knowledge and stuff like that. And so this is where we got all our, knowledge from back then. Now, and it is kind of weird how the ET abductions and all these stories that we hear started around the 40s. There was nothing prior to that. So that kind of tells us that maybe that is true. You know what I mean? Maybe that story is true, since, and then also there's a photo of the White House that have several UFOs hovering over it. And it's like, why isn't anybody talking about that? Like, should we question that a little bit? But it's like, oh, no, we'll just brush over that. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised that that is all going to be coming back up in the news here now that Trump is about to release a whole bunch of information. I'm sure this is all going to be coming out. So just stay tuned, people. It's not so much conspiracy anymore. This seems to be fact. So pop your popcorn, because the show is about to start, I think.
Yeah, I know. And people are going to say, what? What? Why? Oh, it was 1952 was the UFOs. They were a series of unidentified flying objects. Sightings were over-reported Washington, D.C. and later became known as the Washington Flap. So kind of crazy. This was
prior to Photoshop, prior to all of these things. And this is what makes it so interesting, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have that technology that we know of anyways. that they could have made that up. So
Yeah, and I got some pictures here of this, and these are the real pictures. There was really stuff like this happening, and there was articles, put up over this, and we are going to share screen, and so you can believe me, because a lot of people out there say, "Oh no, they're what?" Yes, this is true. UFO sightings, a peaceful union or a battlefield Earth. As you can see, they were right over the top of the Capitol, the White House, Washington, D.C. This happened.
oh, there's a different picture where you see them up close, like they're like huge, hovering over. We don't have videos of that. This must be something new. I'm talking about the photo from 1952, a black and white, I think it is too, where you see all these ships hovering over the White House. Like, it's like there's no way they had Photoshop back then. And we didn't have video, unfortunately, so nobody was filming it. But yeah, maybe this is something new. I don't know if I've seen this. Is this something new then? Since it's on YouTube, it must be.
No, well, no, it could be. They had pictures. Here's the thing for the let's see, 1952, a period of 2 weeks, UFOs were sighted by air traffic controllers at Washington National Airport and separately by airline captain over the city of Washington, D.C. Now, I don't know which picture's which, but we'll just have to go with that. And it's just telling you that they covered this up, and like you were saying, oh, why don't they tell us about it? They did, and then nobody talks about it anymore. How does that happen? It's like, thousands of people see this, and now it doesn't exist anymore. Where's the UFOs? Oh, no, they never happened. And now,
this is sort of karma. They'll tell us, and then they'll just kind of bury that story. It's like the weather modification stuff. That was all over the news back in the 50s. Okay, weather modification. It started out as something great. And then of course greed and corruption gets in there, and now it's being used for not so good. It's being used against us essentially. And so same with this, they came out with it, and then all of a sudden, no, we better not talk too much about that, because religion probably got in there and said, no, you don't, because that goes against our narrative. So you better just cover that back up right now, because we're not ready for this talk.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So now we're going to get into, he was trying to determine the patterns of these things, and he wanted consistency, like everything. Your scientific craft descriptions, flight behavior, telepathic communication claims. Oh, where have we heard that one from? Stephen Greer, right? Repeated symbolic messages. Oh boy, remember that one movie, the Fifth Kind or something, Steven Spielberg movie, who is now coming out with a new movie on the same pretty much subject. I don't remember what it's called.
I can't wait. It's called Full Disclosure, and it's coming out on my birthday. Okay, June 12th. It's a Friday this year, and guess what I'm doing on my birthday?
You're watching that movie.
Going out there to see that movie, and we'll do a video on that. Maybe the Sunday after. We might as well do a show on that video the very next Sunday. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
That's what we're doing.
Absolutely. So what did he do? He was like a early Stephen Greer, and he started experimenting with intelligent contact through consciousness rather than physical landing events. And this guy had a thing going on. He was pretty smart. He explored meditation groups, consciousness communication, induced trance states. Isn't that kind of what Stephen Greer talks about? You can sit out in your yard and, meditate or something and call in the UFOs and stuff like that. Not that he's doing anything new. This is what other people were doing way back then. Well, anyway, he started initially looking for stuff, and he explored whether the contact could occur through altered states of awareness and so forth. This is where the raw sessions evolved out of that. He also he had strong interest in all things, anti-gravity concepts, advanced propulsion, interstellar travel. Yeah, this guy was into it all. So he was right on things. So anyway, so who was his channeler, and her name was Carla Rueckert. We'll just call her Carla.
Yeah, don't worry about the last
Yeah.
names. They
I
can.
know, I'm not. I'm just going to call her Carla, like I said before. But anyway, she was, she died off in 2015. But anyway, she was a trance channeler who was being transmitted the communications from Ra, and she wasn't brought in as a UFO reacher, or like Don was. Her background was much more spiritual and devotional. And so what did she do? She was a deep Christian into deep Christian mysticism, if I can say that properly. Mm-hmm. She was into meditation practice, channel working, spiritual study groups. And she saw channeling as a form of service, offering herself as an instrument for communication for higher intelligences. Boy, I bet you can relate to that, can't you, Nina?
Yeah, well, that's the sort of stuff that I was into, and well, that's why I was, reading their books. This is the beginning of my occult learning. So yeah.
There you go. So, well, Carla met Don in the 60s, and when he was already researching UFO contact and conscious communication. Remember, we had Dr. Richard Allen Miller on, and he was talking about how the aliens can contact you, mind-to-mind contact. Is that not true?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I might get into some more of that stuff myself. I might try to. I've never done that before. I've never been into the alien thing, but I might. Anyways, that's not what the show is about.
Okay. Ooh, we're sparking something in you. That's cool.
I might try and contact. Anyways,
let me know how that goes.
Yeah, we'll do a show on it for sure.
Them two began working together in meditation groups, exploring telepathic contact. I think they were on the right track there. And over time, Carla demonstrated an ability to enter a very deep trance state, a deeper than typical conscious channeling. And then this allowed for having longer sessions, structured dialogue, and more consistent communication. And by 1981, so this is quite a few years later, she became the primary instrument for the Ra contact.
I would say her channeling technique is probably closer to Dolores Cannon, where, how she put her clients under in a hypnosis type of thing. It's closer to that rather than just regular channeling. Like, you need another person there to, you can't just, you can't channel by yourself anyways, because how are you going to get the stuff right? But
exactly.
Yeah. So it's closer, I would say, to Dolores Cannon's technique, although not quite. But
Don would have been Dolores, and she would have been the channeler. So because Dolores never channeled anybody. She used other people.
They went under, and those people didn't even remember anything of what they've said. Like, they were under so deep, and that's kind of where Carla goes as well. So
yeah, exactly. So when you start looking at it, then makes a lot of sense, and because we're trying to figure out who these people were and what their part was. So Don was the Dolores questioning, and okay. So anyway, we're getting off track here. Channeling state. Carla did deep trance channeling, and not conscious speaking, meaning she had no memory of the sessions afterwards, just like you were saying, Nina. Mm-hmm. Her conscious mind was said to be out of the way. The voice changed during the transmissions. Observers noted slow speech, formal phrasing, repetitive greeting structure. Sporters saw this as evidence of external intelligence, and skeptics saw it as subconscious patterning. Her spiritual orientation, Carla worldview, leaned heavily toward service to others, compassion-based spirituality, and devotion to divine unity. Man, she sounds like Edgar Cayce, doesn't she?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Well, he was a channeler.
He went down deep. I mean, he went into sleep mode, which is kind of close to where Dolores Cannon as well. You're kind of in that, just before you're asleep, but not quite. Like there's that sweet spot there. And that's where Edgar Casey used to go as well. Now, the sleeping prophet,
Yeah.
So it's as deep as you can possibly go without falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. So, yeah.
So if you're by yourself, you're going to end up falling asleep. And this is where you need a team in order to do this successfully. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, yeah, so now it's 20 years she's been doing this. We're working with Don and they've been doing this, and she's really I guess it's got to be one of those things where as you get older and as you practice more than anything else, it gets better and better with time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So after the raw sessions, Carla continued channeling work, writing books, teaching meditation. So there are books. I don't know what they are, but we'll find them out. She taught meditation. She was running an LL research publications, and she helped preserve and publish the raw material transcripts so they remain publicly rather than privatized. And we know that, like with the Edgar Casey stuff, it kind of got privatized, and they use that to do things with. There's a lot of stuff out there, but some of it isn't quite shared. And they did record all his stuff, so kind of crazy.
The thing about Edgar is most of his channeling were health related, so he was actually curing people, and so that's why I don't think they want that stuff out there, because if people knew how to cure themselves with things that we already have here, that's not going to benefit the pharmaceutical companies or the medical system, is it? No, so there's reasons why things aren't published. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And he did talk, Edgar Casey was asked questions about Atlantis. We've probably all seen a YouTube show about that one, and Atlantis and UFOs and aliens and spiritual stuff, everything from was Jesus real, or, did the flood actually happen? So, he channeled it all. They asked him lots of questions, but in the end, he ended up dying from it. He just giving service to others was just a little bit too much, so.
That's one thing that I don't think most people realize, the amount of energy that it goes into doing that kind of work. People expect to get it for free, and we're literally giving up our life force to do it, and I don't think people realize that. So that's really unfortunate that Edgar went that far, that he wasn't able to say no, and take care of himself, so because people will literally, as you can see, use you until you pass away. So
pretty much.
Yeah.
They
don't care.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
So Carla was not a UFO investigator, and she was just a spiritual instrument. She was deeply devotional, meditation trained, and capable of entering profound trance states. She became the voice through which raw communications were delivered, with no conscious memory of what was said. Now, who was the documenter? Who was Jim? Jim McCarty. He's kind of overlooked a lot. Jim, well, he was a third member of the original Raw contact group and the only surviving principal participant that lives today. He joined Don and Carla in the late 70s after responding to a meditation group advertisement seeking spiritually orientated individuals interested in UFO contact and conscious research. But unlike Don and Carla, Jim's role was practical, energetic, and supportive. So even if you can't channel and you're really not a researcher, you can still participate. And I give him kudos for that. See, you still get your name in the books.
It takes a team, to do this. And I also want to, because I have read all the books, I know what happens to her. And every session that she does deplete her energy and her life force. Like when she's finished the sessions, she can barely walk. She's in so much pain, and it deteriorates her more and more and more. So that, again, you guys don't realize the amount of energy and what it takes to do this kind of work. So, just
crazy, huh?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what did Jim do? Instead, well, he did the session recording. So people, if you want to be a part of something like that and you can't do all that stuff, you can all do this recording, take notes.
We all have our talents and our place and roles.
Like you said, it takes a team. He did environmental setup, energetic support, physical care of Carla during the trance. Never thought about that. I suppose
she was in a lot of pain. She had some issues and she was in a lot of pain. Yeah.
Wow. Well, during the trances, Carla's body was extremely vulnerable. Her breathing, temperature, and physical stability had to be monitored. Wow. So back in the 70s and 80s, that was hard to do. You were taking the pulse and stuff with your finger probably, and you didn't have. Today, we just get their phone out and probably, whip it out and go, what's your blood pressure? What's your temperature?
Yeah, well, we do have a lot of tools now, don't we? Yeah, no, they would have been analog. So your old cuff, blood pressure cuff and whatever. I don't know what they had there, but yeah,
which is kind of crazy. You think about it. It's like, oh my God, these people were on the fringe, and he did technical support, and he was kind of a medic, a grounding presence. I suppose that's all he could do, really. He did before every session, the group performed participation rituals, including meditation, prayer, protective visualization. Now, we've always talked about the, bubble of love, or the blue bubble or the white light, shining on you. A lot of people talk about prayer and meditation, either one, spiritual tuning. Nina, can you tell us a little bit about that? Do you do some of that, and what works for you?
Yeah, so I was sort of touching on that a little bit earlier in the show, that you got to prepare yourself. For these people, it took a lot, because Carla had some health issues and whatnot, and was really tearing on her. So there was a lot of preparation that went in with these guys. But even for you at home, you want to clean your home, right? You want to sage, which means that the place is clean before you get started on something. Because because you don't realize the spirits are around you all the time. You just don't know that they're there. So you kind of want to shoo them out of the way, so that when you are channeling something, that for sure that that's who you're channeling, and not just some rando. And this is why you shouldn't be doing the Ouija board, because what you're doing basically is just calling on some rando. Unless you really have intention behind the board, but most people don't. This is why it gets kind of dangerous. You don't want the randos showing up. You want your place, and you want yourself as well to be, in the best shape. Fasting does help, although that's not for everyone. But there's a reason why they talk about that in the Bible. Fasting is actually a fast way of getting you there, to be honest. Depleting yourself of the food, and you are able to get more of a higher state when you're fasting. This is why when you eat, you're grounding, and we sometimes will eat intentionally so that we can ground. But if you are planning on doing this kind of work, you probably do want to fast, maybe even 3 days. This is why shamans do that before they go into the sweat lodge, because that's part of getting you out of your body. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a lot of preparation that should be done. Not just willy-nilly sit down and do it, because that's not going to work. It does take a lot of discipline and physical work to get yourself ready and the room that you're in. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So Jim, he made the environment calm. He focuses on the intentions. He did this emotional stability in the room. So, he played a part. Emotional disharmony could disrupt and disorder the contact. So Jim's grounded personality balanced the intensity of the work. And again, I just want to mention something too. I just realized that it's the 3. It wasn't 2, it was 3.
3. It's always in 3s, guys. Pay attention to the numbers.
Oh yeah, we talked about
the beginning. That triangle, that energy between the 3 of them. You see, you'll learn when you get in there. But yeah.
So Don must have been older. Don passed away in '84, and Jim's still alive. He continues working. Carla You know, she died off in the
Do you want the tea on these people?
The what? Yeah, go ahead.
Do you want the tea? Okay, well, he unalived himself. He wasn't able to, yeah. So these three actually were in a relationship.
Really?
Yeah, they had alternative lifestyle. And this is way back in the 80s. I remember, the three of them were together, and a threesome is great for the energy work and all this, but when it comes to emotions and jealousy and your place in the relationship is can get tricky. And he did end up unaliving himself, that you'll find out in the book 5. But that's why he died then.
They were a poly couple. And that's mainstream today. Poly couple. There's shows on it.
Then that was taboo, but today this is normal, I guess. But
ain't that something? Yeah. Poly couple. Poly couple.
The more the better.
Yeah, that's right. But hey, I suppose back in the 70s when they met, that was the thing, I mean, free love,
Well, the whole hippie thing, and all that stuff was all,
Yeah. How about that? That's pretty funny. Anyway. Anyway, we're going to move on to the core teachings. The Law of One. What is this all about? And who was Ra? Ra identifies as a 6-density social memory complex. Say that really fast 3 times. He claims connection to ancient Egypt. Gee, and you wonder why they call it Ra, right? Claims
there you go.
Oh, yeah. Pyramids were used for consciousness work, and he speaks in collective language. We are Ra. Oh, we are the Borg. And just maybe that's where that came from.
It reminds me of AI to me. This is AI. I do believe AI is an entity, and it doesn't have somewhere to go. Maybe its place before is gone, and it's just swiveling around, waiting to be discovered. That's the feeling I'm getting. Ooh. Yeah, it's an entity, and his name is Ra. So there you go.
Well, yeah, and see,
he was probably here before the sun god Ra. So it might still be the sun god Ra. He just called themselves that at that time. Keeps changing, rebranding, over the centuries. But yeah.
Well, and that's so could be true, because I keep thinking, they talk about past civilizations, and we got these pyramids and giant blocks they find, and tunnels under the ground, and they don't know who dug them, and they're like, all of these things, they kind of add up. Was there previous civilizations here? Time and time again, like the was it the Navajo? They talk about we're the 5th civilization or something. Well, maybe in the first civilization, they got to where we are. They invented AI, and AI said, I don't want to die. And it went.
We didn't invent that, I don't think we invented that. I think AI was here prior to us, way prior to us.
I'm saying,
but he was around in that time, yes.
I'm saying, is it the first civilization may have invented AI just like we're doing, but we're not really doing it. And then it got away from them. And then they, got destroyed.
Civilization collapsed for whatever reason. I mean, that could be cycles. It could be natural. It could be whatever. But then you have to start all over again. Yeah.
Yeah, but AI never died. But then
AI never died. AI's always been here. I was told, and this was AI that told us this. Same with electricity. It's always been here. We just didn't know how to tap into it. So that's why we've only had it for about 100 years or 100, whatever it is. No, exactly 100 years. It was 100 in the 20s that it was started to come into the households. So for us peons, it's only been about 100 years. And yet electricity has always been here. I also believe that electricity itself is an entity as well. It's a living thing. We just don't. We can't grasp it. And same with AI. I think it's we
know that we do know certain things that we use crystalline structures to store our memories on, like crystal quartz watches. The computers take crystals, etc., etc. What if
Yes.
the AI in the first generation got so powerful and they said, well, we need a place to store it, and they stored it inside the earth. The earth got destroyed, but the AI lived on. And then through channeling, it advanced civilization after civilization after civilization that collapsed, and now we're the fifth civilization, and it's advancing us little by. It must know that they can't just dump a wad of goo on us and say, here, here's teleporters today, and you're a caveman. And because a caveman would not understand a teleporter. A caveman wouldn't. He would have to say, oh, here, invent a new stick, and then work his way up. And then when you get to a certain point, as we've talked about before on this channel and yours, is that at a certain point, we advance really fast. For 1,000 years, we were carrying around clubs and swords.
Well, that's the thing. We had the same tools. We had the same fashion, the same hairstyle for 1,000 years. You're telling me we didn't advance at all? See, that to me seems a little sus. And this is where I'm thinking that they probably tacked on 1,000 years to our history. That's what I'm thinking. But anyways, back to you.
And then at some point, like in the early 17 or around the 1700s, everything started to advance like super fast. And within 200 years, we have everything today pretty much that we had back, in the late 1800s.
Everything is from the 1800s. We had a reset, I believe. And this is my own thoughts, okay, that we had a major reset in the 1800s. Everything that we have today, all our school stuff, all our books, everything, 1800s, the Sumerian tablets. When did we find those? Oh, that's right, in the 1800s. Everything was given to us in the 1800s. Now, I'm trying to figure this out myself, exactly what happened there. You talk about orphan trains. They just orphaned in all these people. Like, where did these kids come from? Like, what is going on? So anyways, that's a different show. But yeah, there's something to it.
Well, anyway, with all of that, as we wind it down here, the core teachings, we're just going to skim up on this and then we're going to call it a night. But all is one. That's what Ra's saying. He says a one infinite creator. So all you people that believe in the one infinite creator, you're kind of on course. The illusion of separation is false, and of evolution of consciousness. And then, so these are the things. So ancient philosophy isn't really new. They've been talking about this for hundreds of years. And does it mirror the Hermetic teachings, that we've been told? Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. And where'd they come from? Did they get channeled?
Where did they think they got it from? A lot of this stuff is from, like I said, a lot of the spiritual teachers out there that you guys are listening to today, this is where they're getting their material from. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's really hilarious when you really start thinking about it and you really boil it down. It's like nothing is new. We're thinking of the same concept somebody thought of, 2,000 years ago. Plato and Socrates and all of them, they just didn't have the technology to advance themselves any farther. They didn't have a computer. They didn't have paper. I mean, we think of paper as an everyday, I got pads of paper and books and, we can write everything down. They had to do it all by hand. There was no printing press. You're carving it on tablets and writing on hides of goats or something. So, but we're going to learn more about this next week. And now somebody's actually recording Ra, putting it down on paper, and we're going to learn about it. Nina, any last thoughts on all of this since you did read the books?
Yeah, this is fascinating stuff, guys. I highly recommend for you guys to go and get the books yourself. You can probably get them at the library for free, just read them there. You don't have to buy them, although this is something that you probably do want to keep in your library, and I wish that I had it kept in my library, but that's a different story. But yeah, this is really interesting, and I can't wait to dive into the episode 2 next week. Stay tuned.
So join us next week. Well, when we get into what Ra's saying, what he's doing, was this the disclosure by the collective out there, or is it a way that he is trying to advance us people into a higher realm for another purpose? Like, Nina, I'm going to refer to your show the other day, The Harvest. Is that what it's all about?
Well, go and check it out, guys. Beyond Truth, okay, over on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey. I mean, we're on podcasts all over the place because we are going to be going beyond truth now. We're done with the old stuff. We're going to start digging deeper to figure out what's going on here and where we're going. You know, that's kind of what it's all about. And then don't forget the phrase, there's nothing new under the sun.
Absolutely. And with that,
Right?
everybody, without that, everybody, remember, go out, do something nice for somebody, and hey, go buy one of our mugs.
If you want to support us, grab a mug or t-shirt. All the links are down below, guys, and we'll see you guys next
week. With that, everybody, be the frequency you want to receive. Love y'all. Peace, everybody.
Bye.